TCG Global Security and Maritime Work. American Legionnaire is going to be the program. This is going to be your SITREP for December 2022. This is a follow-up from the 21st. A follow-up on the grid attacks provided by S2 Underground, another YouTube channel. We're going to kind of go a little more in depth on what we've gathered on that, as far as intelligence and data that we're looking at here at the War Room. I'm Abraham. I don't have any of my cohorts with me here tonight, and forgive me, I've been busy tonight, kind of monitoring and possibly getting ready to go out and react to the weather that's going on outside. So we've got some local assets that are having, just fighting an uphill battle with keeping the grid here powered up and on, as well as a lot of traffic accidents and law enforcement being short-staffed and having to fight the inevitable multiple traffic accidents and other calls that they have to respond to. And so we're kind of just sitting here in the wind a little bit, ready to go out and do what we can where we're needed. And that's what we do. We support our community locally. And I would strongly suggest all of you get involved as well. One thing I do want to cover tonight that I had on my notes before I really dig in and start going through this, and I'm going to blast through the intelligence and data as quickly as I can. This is going to be a short recording for you guys here at the Patreon. First off, thank you for supporting us. Secondly, I would like everybody to grab a pen and paper and get online if you have access to the internet and start marking down all the response phone numbers that you need for your local area. Mark down all possible locations close to where you reside for shelters in case the storm reaches you guys down in the southern parts of the U.S. and the eastern. It's already here and it's headed your way. So I would like you to look up the American Red Cross, look up the Salvation Army, look up your local missions and shelters, look up your fire, police, and EMS non-emergency numbers, as well as you already know your 911 contact information. Look up your local races, radio communications frequencies. If you guys have a ham radio, let me show this to the screen here. Handhelds or base units. Get all your frequencies lined up. Make sure that you're able to communicate on those. If you have a license to operate a ham radio, be sure to be prepared to respond and make emergency calls if you need to on the frequencies for your local emergency operations centers in the event something drastic occurs. I'm in a multi-level, multi-resident building where I'm located, and there are residents and folks here and people that if the power were to go down, this building would get cold really, really quick. And so I've kind of put together an emergency response in case that happens. We've got a building across the way as well as a major hospital that's literally right across the street. And they've got generator backup. So worst case scenario, my elderly folks that live in the building where I'm at, we're going to make sure that they're safe, take care of them, and get them to any kind of shelter where they're going to have power and heat and keep these people alive if something were to happen. We have seen the grid bounce up and down tonight. I actually got woke up early this morning and had to go and post out an alert to our community, as well as my students from the classes that I teach, and make sure that these folks are aware that there is a concern for the grid going down here locally. And if that does happen, if there's any kind of interruptions to electrical services, there goes heat. So unless they have a fireplace or another form of heat, that's a bad situation. It can get extremely bad really quick. Right now, the temperature with the Whiskey Charlie, which would be our wind chill, factoring in negative 38 degrees as I sit where I'm at right now. That's extremely cold. Less than 5 minutes, you can be exposed to that, where when literally frostbite, frost nip will take over your skin. So that's something to think about. Heating yourself up inside of a shelter, propane indoors is a last resort. If you know how to use ventilation for a gas that you're burning, I'm not going to tell you that that's a good idea. It's always a bad idea because you could breathe in the exhaust fume off that. And the gas that you burn, there's a risk with this. But in an emergency situation, and I'll reiterate that, in an emergency situation, folks, there's a possibility you have to break out whatever you have at hand, whatever you have in your kit, and create heat to stay alive and, prevent frostbite, hypothermia, or any kind of environmental conditioning where it can physically harm you and cause you stress. So if you have to go that route, be sure you understand how to ventilate any, create ventilation, create circulating air. For legal reasons, and obviously I don't want to get kicked off the internet for saying it, but if you have to go to burn other materials, make sure that they're not chemically laced. When I was in Iraq, I was exposed to burn pits, and my lungs to this day are still screwed up and will be the rest of my life, and it'll probably get progressively worse over time. So as somebody suffers from burned lungs, I'm going to tell you, don't burn chemicals if you can avoid that. Natural wood is an option, but be sure, and again, I'll reiterate this as much as I have to, make sure that you circulate and ventilate anywhere that you have to burn anything to stay warm or use a source of heat wherein you're possibly using a fuel for that source. So just be careful with that. I'm going to go ahead and move on here. There's a Patreon channel for those that are not on Patreon. This is going to be a Patreon only broadcast. So those that have visited our Patreon or our paying members will be able to access and see this. Many times in the future, most of my briefs and sit reps will be Patreon only. They will not be public, so keep that in mind. For those that want to make donations to the team and the group here for the work that we do in collecting intelligence and data and making sure that we put this out to the public as well as our team members here, there is a PayPal listed at the bottom in the ticker of your screen. And if you write that link down and follow that, that'll take you to our PayPal where you can make a monetary donation to our work. Help us keep the lights on, folks. Obviously, most of you that have been here a while understand the cost involved in doing this, the access, and, all of us need to do the best we can to survive Christmas and the holidays and make sure that we take care of our families first. For those that have a little extra and you want to donate it, your options are, of course, PayPal or contact us direct, and we can set up a Cash App or something else if you want to do that. Anything to help us keep the bills paid, keep the lights on, and make sure that we continue to pay for the access that we have and take care of our sources as well. So if you're viewing this on YouTube, you can like and subscribe if you like. We don't have a lot of activity over there. We don't really support YouTube. We do not accept any money except through Patreon. We do not take money or any kind of payment or monetary gain from YouTube or Facebook or anyone else out there that chooses to disregard the First Amendment and wants to push, a narrative and censorship on everybody that thinks or acts differently or believes differently than they do. If they don't support this country and what this country represents, we will not support them and we will not accept money from them. So it's not real important to like and subscribe. If you want to, that's fine. We're not looking for a huge following here. We may eventually get a large following, and, we welcome that. But we're going to stick with Patreon for now. Patreon so far hasn't gotten political or woke, so to speak. So we're going to continue supporting that and also financially gaining off that as much as we possibly can to keep the bills paid here. Myself and all of my team, all of us have full-time careers and jobs. This is not the only thing we do. We're more or less volunteering to do this on the side when we have time. I know it's been a few days since or a few weeks and months since we've done anything really publicly as far as covering data and media news and all the security information that's going on around the world and how it affects us here at home. So bear with us. We're watching it every day. We've got a network set up where all my team members have access to it, and we keep eyes on everything. So if there's ever a major emergency, something that's going to happen, we're definitely going to put the information out there. We do support other channels. We support Monkey Works, S2 Underground, Suspicious of Bird, which would be Ben Davidson on YouTube. We support these other channels, and we also pay for many of them. because they got to keep their lights on too, folks. I mean, none of what we're doing is free. All this costs money, and takes a lot of time out of us as well. So we support these other channels, and I know that everybody and their brothers put out all kinds of alerts all over YouTube and information about the winter weather storm that we're experiencing, what they're calling it, Winter Storm Elliott. That said, we haven't really gotten on here and done any coverage on the storm due to everybody else is covering it. So we're kind of keeping eyes on the Middle East, keeping eyes on Eastern Europe and the Balkans. We're keeping eyes on domestic security issues, domestic terrorism events and things like that. We're not really sticking to our weather side so much as what we're not posting over on Discord. For everybody who's interested in keeping up to the minute by minute information with our team and our folks and our people, you can go to Discord, and if you join Patreon, you will get a link to Discord, and that's how you can join up. That's an independent server that allows us to post, allows you to communicate and post as well. And there are plenty of channels in that server where you can choose to go to post anything that you think is pertinent to national security and our family and our loved ones' safety. The link that you get at Discord will be very short-lived. So once you receive that in your email when you join Patreon, and I believe it's $5 a month minimum, $8 and $12 a month are the other two tiers that you can join. And those tiers will give you direct access to me or some of my leadership in the company here, versus just the Discord back and forth communication. So if you would like to do that and you receive the Discord link, you need to get on there and set that up as quick as possible, because they do have an expiration time on them. So I just want to make sure I mention that and prepare you guys for that. So what I'm going to cover tonight, this early morning at 5:30 in the morning, before I go to the gym here and then be ready to go out and kick the day's ass, is I got a board. I may even get my phone recorder, my video recorder on my phone, and go around and kind of give you guys a tour of the war room here and kind of show you everything we're working on. And the dry erase boards, the postal board up that we have over here, there's a constant flow of information going through the net, and I'll select out what I think is important or something that people need to pay attention to or would like to be notified of, and it'll get posted up on one of the boards up here on the wall. And because I can't take this camera, this computer laptop that I have that's recording this over there, what I've done is I've sent a photographic copy of that board over to my phone, and I'm going to be reading off of that. And again, these are just kind of real quick, real short briefs on a card. It's just simply we have a whole stack of these cards right here that we post everything on. We write it down real quick, put it up on the board, it's done, and then we can forget about it for the moment. We need to reference it again, or somebody needs to go and do a little investigative background on it. Go to the board, pick one of the cards, bam, there it is. Start pulling data on it. So what I'm going to be reading to you guys is more or less a very shortened version of what's occurring. These aren't going to be full narratives on the situation, the intelligence that we received. Real quickly, let me mention that we also do not share classified information here. Anything that's not public, that's deemed classified or sensitive, if it's class, it's not going to be shared here verbally or in the Discord server, type print or anything else, because that would be illegal. So we don't break the law here. Just prepare everybody for that. If we come across information that's life-threatening or dangerous to our community or our membership and your region or your area, wherever you live, and it's not necessarily public yet, a lot of times we will do our best to get that information to our membership or people in that area. And at times we will communicate with the federal agencies, the fusion centers, FEMA, and anyone else, and let them know or make them aware of a situation that's developing in a certain area of the country. And then once that's done, then we'll bring it out and share it here. But we take what we do very seriously. It's a huge responsibility. We're on the internet, not only chasing down intelligence data, national security issues, but we're also tracking human traffickers, child predators, anyone that's involved in illegal activity, criminal activity, drug activity, anything like that. We're also looking at it from a 50,000 foot view over the landscape. If we are critical, we will post them up. But before we do that, we're going to make sure that we notify the correct authorities and the administrative people that need to share that information. Forgive me, I've got a hell of a cough, and it's a hell of a weather storm outside, and I'm not feeling that great today, so bear with me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just blow through these real quick, and we're going to start with the White House. What a disaster. So Zelensky showed up here, and he decided he was going to come beg for more money and more support, and he informed our Congress, and by informing our Congress, informed the tax-paying citizens of this country that our money to Ukraine is not a charity. It's an investment. His words, not mine. Let's not mince words. Charity versus an investment. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of that investment. I don't know what the return on that is. I'd like to know. Russia's not a threat to the United States the way they are to Ukraine at the moment, but they are a threat to the world. And I don't know who elected Ukraine as the ones to take on the big mean bear in Russia and save the world, but somehow Zelensky's got a big head on him. I don't trust him. Most Republicans don't trust him. Of course, we're all being called racist. We're going to all be called, as conservative Americans, we're all going to be called anti-Ukraine, anti-American. We're traitors. We're terrorists. We're going to be called everything in the book, because we don't appreciate our tax dollars going to a foreign country, being laundered and turned around and sit back here and making the elite more rich. And that's exactly what's going on now. I'll get into the Patriot missile here in just a second, but I can tell you this. There's only a select few allied nations to the United States where we've trained people on how to use them. And only those folks would be able to go into Ukraine and set those missile systems up and make them effective. Now, unless we've been training Ukrainian military over the last 6 months how to use the Patriot missile system, nobody in that country will be able to operate these. They're an extremely complicated system, and that leaves me to believe that we're going to have American boots on the ground. We already do, folks. There's U.S. military special operations folks in Ukraine, and agency folks, agency types also. So don't be fooled by that. Let's just face it. Those are missions and operations that'll never see the light of day. But to think that Russia doesn't know we're already in there, they do. Now I'm going to make a comparison. Russia has a former, very effective and very well educated and extremely intelligent former KGB intelligence officer from the Soviet Union as their president and commander-in-chief of their military. We have a fucking potato in charge of ours with no real education, bottom of his class, furthest thing from intelligence as you can possibly imagine. The guy is a potato. I mean, he's not even a cupcake at this point. He's just simply a turd growing under the dirt. And the guy has no couth, no respect, no honor. As far as I'm concerned at this point, I'm going to call Joe Biden exactly what he is. He's a traitor to this country. He's bought and paid for by China. And if anything, he's working for the Russians at this moment, because everything he's done has only helped Russia. It's not hurt him. So we got that versus the KGB. God help us. I'm going to go through here and read these cards that we have up on the board up here. And I'm going to make this quick. So follow along as quickly and best you can. I apologize. I don't have it on the screen here, so you guys are just going to have to listen to me. But we'll make it work. White House intelligence. Merchant of death traded for 2 homosexual U.S. citizens visits Ukraine back to work to help Russia in eastern Ukraine. the Mercheth, the guy that we traded for Brittany Griner, and an unnamed individual who was also part of the 2-package deal that the Biden and the White House will not admit to at this point. Was also a flaming homosexual. He was chosen to come back home over a United States Marine who was a prisoner in Russia. This guy's back in Ukraine. He's in the war zone. We know what he's doing. He's on the Russian side. What he's going to start doing is he's going to start moving weapons and materials, probably on behalf of the Russian government. That's why they wanted him back so badly, because he has the connections. He's right back to work, folks. He's made his connections with people that are in the business that he used to deal with. And if the United States intervenes with the support from Iran with the drones to Russia, which I'm sure the White House has made it very clear that they plan to intervene in this and sanction and do whatever else they do politically. This guy's going to get around that. So more than likely, he's talking to Ukraine, pro-Russian Ukrainian militants on the ground, the militia. He's talking to Russia, and he's talking to the Iranian government. Biden quoted as stating, Iran nuke deal is dead, but we aren't going to announce it. I have not looked further into that, but that sounds like a hot mic moment. Maybe he didn't want the world to hear that, but somebody did hear that. It came across our network. It was verified according to the card I'm reading. That was a verified quote from Biden. So I'm going to throw that out there to you guys and let you make of that what you will. Border. Let's go to border security with the White House. Biden receives $3+ billion from Congress to fund border migration. $3 billion from Congress to fund. Remember who runs Congress right now. The left is in control of Congress. The left in Congress hold the purse to fund border migration. The words quoted here as I'm reading them on the card. So somebody else wrote this card up for me, so I don't have the details behind that. Title 42 remains a SCOTUS blocks exit temporarily. So we're not exiting out of Title 42. And then immediately after the Supreme Court ruled this, Biden stated that he was searching for a way to extend Title 42. He can extend it simply by making an executive call to extend it. He doesn't need to look for a way to do it. This is called the White House covering their ass because they can't go over the Supreme Court. They can't go above and beyond that. And the Supreme Court has ruled. But they're only temporarily blocking this. In other words, it's going to get drug out into court. Let's move on to border, CBP, DHS, FBI, intelligence and data. That's the name up on the board for this category of cards that I have in front of me. Domestic border intelligence, 312 migrants being bused by governor's order to Chicago and New York out of El Paso, Texas. Governor's order. The count was 312. I can't confirm that number, but that's what I have in front of me. Governor of Texas recalls and orders 400 plus National Guard to El Paso. Dems blaming Republicans for border crisis, stating Republicans blocking immigration reform attempts. The left is not making any attempt at immigration reform on the border. They're just opening the border and letting anybody and everybody in. That's their idea of reform. Republicans are blocking a lot of this. For example, the omnibus bill. They're blocking this for a reason, because these people are trying to skirt the law as it's written right now and as it stands. Not that any law enforcement officer, agent, or official in this country is willing to stand up and say you're breaking the law and therefore you're going to be criminally charged, and having, a prosecutor stand by them and prosecute these people for breaking American law. Maybe even march to the White House and arrest the guy in charge of all this, put him in handcuffs and haul him away. That's what needs to happen, but there's a cop in this country with the balls to do it. I'm going to just call him out. Law enforcement in this country can put a stop to this. The military can put a stop to this, but the leadership in the law enforcement and the military, they're the ones that are standing in the way. And anyone that speaks up, they're crucifying them. Our FBI whistleblowers, they're going after them. These people have a target on them for standing up and doing the right thing by the law. And that's a problem. I'm going to read this real quick because it's information that I want to make sure that everybody has. If you got pen and paper, great. If you don't, just kind of follow along. DHS, Domestic and National Security Intelligence Infrastructure. I need to cover this because S2 Underground already covered it. I'm going to name off the states and locations, but I'm not going to state the military bases over the air here. You guys can use your maps in your minds to figure out and read between the lines. There's been attacks on our grid by what we believe Antifa, and Antifa suspected with other groups like Defend the Forest Atlanta, the Sunrise Movement extremists. Now, mind you, Sunrise Movement is made up of a majority of people who are young and in college and clueless on what socialism really is. And they bought hook, line, and sinker into the bullshit about it. These people are just out there raising money. And they're raising money for something they're not even aware of they're raising it for. They think they're save the earth in the Green New Deal. When in fact that money and that funding, and we've confirmed this, is going to an extremist side of what's called the Sunrise Movement. These are specially trained folks, young people in college, some of them are older, and these people are going around and preparing the United States to collapse. And attacking the grid infrastructure is one of the means by which they plan to do this. They've had meetings, secret meetings, and we've actually listened in on some of these meetings. They've discussed and had talks about how they're going to take down this administration. They got Biden voted in. They got what they wanted, but they don't kid yourselves. They're not pro-Biden. They want Biden out as much as they wanted Trump out. These people, some of them want complete and total anarchy. The rest of them want a complete and total change in government with one leader, kind of like Venezuela. Reading on here, U.S. military special operations as primary targets at various U.S. bases. All the attacks that are occurring are connected. These grids are connected directly to our military bases, where our special operations are known to be, whether it's their home base, whether it's a training area. North Carolina, everybody heard about Pineland, and that's exactly where the attack occurred. That was not the first attack, but one of the first attacks that occurred on our grid. Person or persons that attacked it used a weapon, a firearm, to shoot out a very expensive and very hard to replace component on a substation, or what we call a transformer. I'm going to name off the states. And keep in mind, we called Antifa as the suspect on this and these other groups. We called them out. We did this almost 3 weeks ago, as well as November 22nd was a specific date in the Discord server where we called out the activity being suspected at Antifa. The FBI has no leads and no suspects. Not that they would announce that publicly at this point, but we're pretty sure we know from our contacts that the FBI is not aggressively investigating this like they should be. More focused on what Patriot group or what Trump MAGA group is the ones that attacked our grid. These agents on the ground are being forced to look the other way and go find a ghost in the night. That's the problem there. Let me name the states. 3 attacks in California. This is in the last 60 days, folks. 3 attacks in California, 6 attacks in Oregon, 5 attacks in Washington State, 3 attacks in Texas, 2 in North Carolina, 3 in West Virginia and Maryland. I'm going to include West Virginia and Maryland because I'm not going to get too specific. We have a lot of sensitive infrastructure in those 2 states. All these areas have been attacked, and these are special operations locations for our military. We know who the enemy of special operations is. That would be Kamala Harris. One of the people that fully supports Soros money being funneled to the Sunrise Movement and other leftist extremist groups for their protest and their activity. And she's called out the special operations military folks as the biggest threat to U.S. national security. Keep that in mind. Moving on, DOJ FBI intelligence, 212.1 million. Listen to me, folks. Listen carefully. 212.1 million funding added to the DOJ in the omnibus to further prosecution of J6 detainee and prisoners. This is confirmed. 212.1 million more money to prosecute. It's a lot of money to prosecute people that are already in the system, been there for 2 years, waiting to go to court and have a trial that they've already investigated. So you got to ask yourself, where is the $200 million going exactly? Supposedly they got everybody that arrested that was there that they're going to arrest. Do we know that for a fact? We do not. No one knows that. But we're going to continue to pay attention to that. Political intelligence, Mitch McConnell quoted as stating continued aid and military funding support, number one priority for Senate Republicans. Let me make sure I read that correctly. Yeah. He's speaking for all Republicans. But he's keying in on Senate, not congressional, but Senate. Most of the congressional Republicans are standing down on Ukraine support at this point. You know, they see the bullshit. They know what's going on. Senate leader, Republican leader Mitch McConnell, married to a Chinese national, wants to make it the number one priority for Senate Republicans. As Tucker Carlson stated, and I'll repeat, the fentanyl coming over the border, the cartel running our border and not our CBP, our Border Patrol, the fact that we're allowing terrorists to come into this country from everywhere in the world, easily slip over the border. Those are not the number one priorities. Our economy is not a number one priority. Our kids, overdosing on fentanyl, that's not a priority. Number one priority is aid to Ukraine. Remember that. Remember that, Kentucky, this guy that you guys keep reelecting and reelecting, just like the other idiot up in West Virginia, Manchin. You guys just get them in there. Joe Manchin, Mitch McConnell, these people they're not Americans. They're not paid folks. People don't love this country. They love their wallet. They love their own interest, and they're going to keep looking out for their own interest. Let me go down here to weather and geo intelligence. So we have a section that we look at called Weather Intelligence Group, and they just take care of everything weather and earth and infrastructure related as far as that goes. Earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, volcanic activity, space weather activity, all of that. And I'm actually a big part of that. I started that group so that we could kind of encompass that into all threats that we see and we are experiencing. I'm actually watching on one of my screens here. I'm watching the sun come up here outside. It's kind of cool. Shows me on the map where the sun hits the earth as it's coming up in the eastern sky. It's pretty neat. So sun hasn't come up here yet, but it's trying to. You guys can see the window behind me in the camera here. It's still dark outside. All right, moving on. Weather intelligence, magnetic pole shift and magnetic field weakening blamed for several equipment and electronics flight failures in commercial aircraft and satellites currently. This has been going on for several weeks. They've had flights going over the Atlantic and the Pacific that have experienced such extreme turbulence due to what we call thermals, which is heat reflected off the sun on the ground or off the sea coming back up. When the air heats up, the air becomes thinner. The plane cannot maintain altitude and it drops. And that's where you get the turbulence from. That and wind. Wind can also create turbulence. Some of these flights are coming back and sending away their passengers at the airport onto ambulances into local hospitals. And this seems to be increasing. And of course, NOAA is not speaking about it. The White House will not touch it. Most of the intelligence agencies out there are all aware of what's going on, but nobody wants to talk about it. Even the people we follow are kind of being sketchy and just not ready to call it what it is. And they're trying to stay away from it for right now. So if you plan on flying anywhere, I believe Monkey's leaving today to go to Hawaii. If anybody out there is planning on flying anywhere anytime soon, you need to be aware that you may have a rough ride. So be prepared for that. Let me cover global real quick. This is going to be everything in the world as far as intelligence goes, and domestic and international security concerns and threats. Middle East operations intelligence, $410 million. I'm going to repeat that: $410 million in the omnibus bill to Middle East states for border security. We're going to send $410 million to the Middle East to help them with their border security and there is no border security in the Middle East, folks, while we allow everybody to come into our country and we leave our border open. So that is confirmed, the $410 million in the omnibus bill for that. Asia Pacific intelligence, Kim Jong-un's sister threatens ICBM launch toward U.S. in tirade. So we're used to the North Koreans coming out anytime anything changes on the global horizon, especially where it involves the U.S. military. If anything happens, these guys like to make threats. It's interesting that the sister of Kim Jong-un is now speaking out a lot more. She has for the past 2 years since Biden got in and defrauded this country with an election that should have been overturned. I'm not going to hide the fact that I feel that way. And let me interrupt real quick. And this message goes out to Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, Glenn Beck, every single media personality, every guest on any show, any network consultant, any person out there that refers to Joe Biden as the president, whether it be in direct conversation, third party, on the air, live to the world, I'm going to call you out as what you are. You are helping push the narrative that the election was legit, that Biden is a legit president of the United States. And as long as you continue referring to him as the president or his wife as the first lady, as far as I'm concerned, you are the problem, not part of the problem. You are the fucking problem. You're going to continue calling this guy by a title he has not earned. Then as far as I'm concerned, you're washed up, you're bought and paid for, you're nothing but, and as it was told to me the other day, and I agree, you're nothing but entertainment. Tucker Carlson likes to discuss and talk about things, though he is entertainment. He's got a show on Fox. He's the #1 rated show. There's a reason why Tucker's kicking your ass, Sean Hannity. Bottom line is, you're all nothing but entertainment. There's a lot of people that like to accuse Dan Bongino of being entertainment. Nah, Dan Bongino's actually calling it the way it is, and he's not holding back, and he's saying what needs to be said. But anyone else out there still referring to this fraud as the president of the United States, you are the problem. Moving on. Media claiming Zelensky first time leaving Ukraine since war began, February 2022. This is not correct. He's visited Poland 4 times, France once, Germany 3 times, Netherlands 2 times, meeting with Biden in Congress joint session. This is the first time he has left the European continent. Media, I noticed in the last 12 hours, changed the way they're presenting Zelensky's trip because we called him out on it, folks. I mean, through our sources and through the Discord server and through other resources that we use, we're calling the media out. We're ready to put them on blast, and all of a sudden they realize that they're going to be blasted for the bullshit they're feeding everybody. Though they're going to continue to do that, they're going to do exactly what the CIA tells them to do. They have always been controlled by the CIA, the media in this country. That's Fox News included, all of them. Now, most of the people that work at these networks don't understand or realize this because for some reason their head is completely shoved up and inside and nicely, comfortably fitting like puzzle piece up their rectum. They can't see the bullshit behind the curtain, the wizard, like the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the curtain. That's the CIA. They're telling these people what to tell the American people. It's programming, folks. Zelensky's not the first time he's left Ukraine. It's the first time he's left the European continent. They said that only Tuesday did it become public that Zelensky was making a trip to the United States. That is also incorrect. We knew Zelensky was going to make a trip and visit Biden last Monday, day before they claim that it's true the media didn't know about it. But folks that are paying attention and watching and listening and doing the work that we do, we knew Monday. We knew Monday morning. I even made the comment to somebody I work with at my normal job that Zelensky was coming over here. That was, back to work Monday morning. So there's that. Russia, Ukraine, Putin orders FSB, that would be their federal, state, police, and intelligence folks, and other affiliated domestic intelligence organizations to focus primarily on traitors and spies within Russia's borders. Moving on, cartel. The Jalisco cartel boss's brother in custody in Mexico. Cartel states Mexican soldiers that they have already captured and police will be held captive, tortured, and killed with the brother until the brother is released. Gulf cartel. Mind you guys, we're watching domestic security issues and the cartels affect us here in the States. So, yeah, we're all over that. Gulf cartel, Mexican police overtaken in several villages and cities along the border. Kidnapped. Looks like more and more every day that all the cartels are working together and they're kind of following the directives and, the consulting that's going on by the Chinese. Covered that in other SITREPs. It's not a secret. China military are active in Mexico. They have been for a long time, and it's just now becoming more so obvious that that can't be ignored anymore. I'm going to have to switch my screen here real quick, so bear with me. I'm going to go into maritime real quick, maritime intelligence and financial and a few other things, so bear with me. I'm trying to read through this stuff. Doomsday aircraft, United States Air Force conducting racetrack patterns, may be a mismarked refueling aircraft on the ADS-B exchange as well as the Skyglass. Off the coast of Oregon over Cascadia subduction zone. This is where the massive earthquake just occurred off the coast of California and Oregon. Earthquake swarm active north of San Francisco. This will be north of San Francisco, meaning that it's not on the San Andreas fault line, but beside the San Andreas fault line. Right north of San Francisco, the San Andreas kicks off and goes out into the Pacific Ocean. This is going to be a swarm occurring over land. Could it be related to the San Andreas? Absolutely. All of these are connected. They all affect each other. For those here that are new, you go to YouTube and look up Dutch Sense, S-E-N-S-E. That's D-U-T-C-H-S-E-N-S-E, Dutch Sense, on YouTube. And he's as well on Twitch. He covers the earthquake prediction side of all the geographical data, and the guy's really good at it. Always readily admits when he gets a prediction wrong, which is not often, but it does happen. So the guy's not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. He's pretty upfront and honest about the data and the intelligence that he receives. So the Doomsday aircraft. Let me explain the Doomsday aircraft for the folks new in our network. This is the one that controls nukes. It's also used as a spy aircraft. It can do many things beyond the scope of this conversation here right now in the SITREP. This thing can do anything that all the other spy aircraft can do. Supposedly, the Doomsday aircraft can survive a nuclear attack. That's yet to be seen. But why is the U.S. Air Force suddenly flying over a racetrack pattern over a place or a location that just had a pretty major earthquake, 6 point something, and it is believed that when these earthquakes occur out there, they do have a tendency to trigger other activity in the area. And there's nothing but volcanoes from California all the way up into Oregon, Washington, and the Cascadia Range, subduction zone, under the ocean as well. The way the racetrack pattern appeared, I would almost say that it was not a doomsday aircraft, but a mismarked on the ADS-B exchange, as well as the Skyglass program. Mismarked aircraft may be a refueler, but we don't have a lot of fighter activity in that region around Oregon. We do in, not to say that we wouldn't, but we do have most of our activity more into central and eastern Oregon and the southern part of the state. We do have a military fighter wing down there, and as well as up near Seattle and more of the western side of the state of Washington. But they do go out over the water, and they do training missions out there, and there are refuelers out there on occasion. So I'm going to move on from that and cover the second part of maritime. Rohingya refugees remain stranded at sea. Pleas for help going unanswered by all nations with maritime rescue capability, including the United States Coast Guard. This is 2 weeks and counting. We have these refugees out in the water pleading for rescue and communicating somehow, and no one's going after them and getting them out of the water, folks. So why? Let me cover financial. Let me make sure. Yeah, we have that. So I'm going to cover the financial intelligence that's been passed on to me on the board up here. 1.7 trillion is the omnibus bill. 4,155 pages in this omnibus bill. Amazon, first ever company to lose over 1 trillion in market value, possibly blaming pandemic. Chinese supply chain attention to blame for 2022 drop in market value, not the pandemic. But, it depends on who you want to listen to, folks. You want reality and intelligence, or do you want, a fantasy? And a lot of people would prefer the fantasy. They'd rather live comfortably as slaves than stand up and fight and live uncomfortably as patriots and get the real information, not the bullshit that the media is feeding everybody. Moving on, SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. Bankman-Fried. It's kind of like the Madoff. I made off with all your money. Well, Sam Bankman is not a banker, and he did fry a lot of people. You kind of listen to these folks' names, and it's almost like it's in your face obvious that a guy named Madoff is going to have you divest and invest in your savings and lose all your money. He made off with all your money is what he did, and did exactly what his namesake is. Bankman-Fried. FTX. Agreed to extradition. So he was going to be leaving the Bahamas now. And folks, I guess there was kind of 2 or 3 days in the wind here where everybody's wondering, is he or is he not going to get extradited from the Bahamas to the U.S.? I don't know the specifics with the State Department on the death penalty with the agreements or life sentencing agreements with the Bahamas, but I'm pretty sure that we're really closely working with the Bahamas to get our bad guys back if they flee to that island and that sovereign state. So I don't think there was much Sam Bankman-Fried could do, but I know that he's a fall guy. Do I think he's evil versus do I think he's just stupid? I think he's a little bit of both. I think he doesn't give 2 shits less about this country. He's not a patriot. To me, that would make him evil. He'd rather take care of his own interest and screw everybody else. But I also think the guy's pretty stupid. He just knows people. And he worked with a lot of people that had money, and he's got a cute little boy face, which some of these sick, rich bastards like that little boy face that he has. And I think the guy's just stupid and was used. And he's going to take the fall and the hit and the blame for all the left-wingers that were involved in that. If you guys have seen pictures of his girlfriend, man, I'd rather go to prison if I had to date her, but that's just me. Moving on. I'm going to cover, I think I covered, no, I did not cover yet. So let's go into cyber real quick because there's some things here that are kind of critical at the moment. New Twitter files confirm tech company assisted directly the Pentagon and the Department of Defense with units and cyber warfare units, civil affairs units, cyber warfare units during OCONUS in domestic PSYOP operations. Okay, so what this means is the Twitter files, which the FBI just made a big fat freaking stink about how there's nothing there. We do this all the time. Our interest is to protect companies and their customers. Wait a minute. The FBI's job is not to protect these companies and their customers. The FBI's job is to find criminal activity and those responsible for it and arrest them. Maybe that's protecting the company and the customers. But their job is to enforce federal law, not protect the company, not protect its customers. The company is responsible for protecting its customers. So that was kind of a stupid statement out of somebody woke at the FBI that ran their mouth and probably should shut up. Really, they should, because that's just more evidence for a future prosecution, hopefully in the future when we take this country back. Just keep talking. That's all I can say to the agency. I just keep running your mouths and be as woke as you want, thinking that you guys won this battle and that everything's going to be so woke and forgiving from this point on. That's what the British thought in 1776, too, when they thought they won everything and they had this all under control. Moving on to the other cyber, another Twitter here on the cyber board. Cyber intelligence Twitter aided all U.S. agencies, including CIA and the Pentagon, beyond assisting just the FBI cyber division. Paid estimates are currently over $1.6 billion paid to Twitter by all the agency activity they were directly involved with and working for our agencies. So, folks, a long time ago, it was made public and everybody was, those who wanted to listen and pay attention, we were all made aware that Facebook started out as a program called LifeLog, which was a program development by a group called DARPA, which is within the Department of Defense Black Budget area of responsibility. Zuckerberg is not some genius that came up with the idea to start Facebook. He was given money and told, here you go, run with it. But you're going to do things our way too. We're going to interject here occasionally on the way we want things done. Twitter was a government agency funded project. YouTube is a government agency funded project. Google is a government agency funded project. Facebook is a government agency project, just like their partner Meta and Instagram and everything else they run. These are all government programs supporting psychological operations, civil affairs operations within the borders of the United States and globally, as well as an intelligence collection tool. That's all it is. Because everybody puts all their entire life out on social media and everything they eat and everything they did this weekend, the fun they had, and they went and had a party here, and your girlfriend's doing her hair this way, and she bought this nail polish. Everything about everyone in this country and everyone around the world that uses anything on the internet is now logged in and tracked and, and filed away. Just remember that. That's going to cover our cyber. We don't have any pressing threats other than I am going to bring up Texas and Austin, Dallas, some of the other cities, El Paso, San Antonio, are seeing a heavy cyber intrusion activity occurring right now. We believe, because of the source of the attacks is China and Russia, we believe that this is to precede, and it might be even in our maritime intelligence, this is to precede the Chinese-Russian combined naval exercises that are going to occur in the South China Sea as well as the Sea of Japan that they're preparing to conduct. And right before every time these guys do these exercises, we see a heavy attack on the United States as far as cyber activity goes. What we are noticing again during this phase of cyber activity is that, interestingly enough, Seattle, which we know Governor Inslee in Washington State has sold military secrets directly to China himself. How he had access to them, we do not know, but we know Boeing has been compromised. We know that the state of Washington is compromised, and we know that Seattle is a heavy tech hub, just like the Silicon Valley in California. Washington, D.C. These places are not being attacked by cyber hackers, by foreign, state-sanctioned cyber activity. Well, ask yourself why Texas is suddenly a target. Why in the last 3 days has Texas been hit so hard prior to a winter storm occurring where it's going to reach the Gulf of Mexico, and even Florida is going to see freezing temperatures? We're seeing this 3 days out from a storm hitting, cyber attacks all over those areas, attacking everything, folks, not just the internet service providers, but the providers of the internet services that provide the service required to run the grid in that state. Are they trying to shut Texas down again? Is Texas going to shit the bed like they did during the last big storm that we had? Is this storm going to be worse or less severe than the storm we had previously that reached the Gulf? Was killing turtles. It dropped sea surface temperature levels down low enough that turtles were washing up on shore and trying to get warm. Is this storm going to be that bad? They're saying right now this is a once-in-a-generation storm. This is not a once-in-a-generation storm, folks. 2-3 years ago, we had a few of these, just like this storm that we're having now. But, of course, the media is twisting it as, and this is the new global warming, and these are the effects of it, and this is because that's what they're told to tell you. If you switch 15 news sources, mainstream media news sources, channel to channel to channel, all you're going to hear is the exact same quotes and the exact same phrases, because that is exactly what they're being told to tell you. Again, it's programming. I'm going to move on from this and just scroll over here real quick and see if I can find some more intelligence to read to you guys today. I already covered McConnell. Okay, so we got a whole nother row of global intelligence. Let me go through this real quick. Middle East intelligence channel server on this came from Discord as well as it's on our network. Pakistan still facing attacks on infrastructure from declared terrorist organization Tehrik-e-Taliban in Western Waziristan province in Pakistan. That's not Afghanistan. They're also known by the name TTP. This group is aligned with Al Qaeda. They are a declared terrorist organization by the U.S. State Department, and they are aggressively going after Pakistan's military and government infrastructure at this moment. Anybody out there gives a shit about Pakistan, there's that. Global Indo-Pacific and Asian theater intel. North Korea threatens Japan and backed by Moscow. Now, we do know Russia has designs and plans on invading Japan when they decide that they're done with Ukraine. Or if China decides to make a move, Russia's going to be right in the middle of it. Threatens Japan and backed by Moscow over new defense strategy. 65% of the Japanese population, according to a poll, cowering to North Korea and refusing to support Japan's strategy to double its defense spending. Japan's not even being supported by its own population at this point by 65%. Another one on the global net here. Balkans, Russia, Ukraine. Offensive planned by Moscow after Christmas. Winter offensive 2.0. Kiev on alert for a direct action by Moscow. Purpose for Zelensky meeting with Biden is to request further U.S. and NATO intervention due to Ukrainian intelligence prior to this winter offensive. And unfortunately supported by the DOD and Pentagon. Russia moving to Belarus forward positions, expect an assault to occur in January or February 2023. Frozen ground effort. So when the ground freezes, they're able to move equipment. The ground is freezing. They're having an extremely cold winter in Europe this year, like we're experiencing here. So it could occur at Christmas. It could occur post-Christmas. It could occur in January. It could be drug out as late as February. We do know that March and April will bring a lot of mud into the terrain in Ukraine, especially eastern Ukraine and the lowlands. And when that occurs, moving equipment, that's kind of where Russia screwed up last time, as they waited too long. And then when they started getting their equipment into Ukraine and they came out of Belarus and tried to go into Kiev, they wound up getting stopped. And a lot of the reason why they couldn't advance those columns of vehicles and that equipment and that weaponry is because of the weather. It's a terrain effect in Ukraine. That's why that happened. Plus the resistance was pretty strong when that occurred. Global Balkans, Russia, Ukraine. Here's another one. $1.8 billion in arms packages approved Patriot missile system type 7. Ukraine not trained on this system. Israeli military and U.S. along with Taiwan and South Korea may be only option for troops on ground to assist unless we send our own people to Ukraine. Boots on the ground means we will be directly involved with the war against Russia. NATO denies Serbian request for 1,000 peacekeepers non-action by NATO concerning KFOR. That's the Kosovo Force mission in Kosovo. Meanwhile, a freedom of movement exercise plan in Kosovo by NATO. Now, this is a slap in the face of the Serbians. The Serbians requested 1,000 military and police peacekeepers to prevent a conflict. Now, remember, the Serbians and the Croats, none of them are getting along. I mean, matter of fact, China is putting military equipment into Serbia right now. They have been ever since Russia went into Ukraine. China started flying their transports over there, bringing military equipment into the country. It was actually pretty interesting because at the airport in that region where the Chinese transports were flying in and landing and unloading military equipment, we had U.S. military transport, heavy aircraft, sitting on the same tarmac, doing the same thing. China and the U.S. sitting there side by side. Because there's going to be a war in the Balkans again, folks. I mean, not just Ukraine, but it's going to spread. It's going to go to several other countries, Romania, Moldova, Hungary, all over the place. Turkey's going to go after Greece. Greece is going to go after Turkey. Iran's going to go after anybody, especially Saudi Arabia. India and Pakistan are ready to nuke each other off the map. Russia wants Ukraine. China wants Taiwan. The United States is right in the middle of all this. So just keep eyes on Serbia. Keep eyes on Kosovo and that region there, because that's going to go hot. I think Monkey's even covered a lot of that. Let me scroll through my notes here real quick, folks, and make sure that I'm covering everything here. I don't have a lot of new news on the NATO side, so I'm going to move on here. Okay, here's another update. Let's go back to the White House. Domestic supply chain and weather intelligence filed under the White House. So I'll have to read through this and figure out why. Due to drought, ranchers in the U.S. were forced to cull beef herds by 3 to 5%. The media is reporting 3. We're closer to 5% on the ground in 2022. This appears as a flush beef market. No one's had problems buying meat lately. That's the only thing at the store that's not running low. Sugar is completely gone off the shelves in my region, but we did warn of that in the Discord server that was coming. So hopefully everybody's stocked up. I know we stocked up here. We got plenty of sugar. This appears as a flush beef market. However, 2023 herds and kill beef will see an increased deficit due to this market decrease in production in 2022. They killed off their cattle because they couldn't feed them in 2022. So that's less beef for the 2023 market. That's an annual turnaround on their beef sales and production. So be ready for that, folks. It's, we're going to have to start going out and hunting for our meat. That's what it boils down to. Another Mexico border, CBP, DHS, FBI, Mexico financial and supply chain intelligence. Mexico preparing to violate the USMCA export agreement that Trump had created. Corn, of the 16.8 million tons of corn exports GMO will be restricted by Mexican law. Genetically modified product is what GMO is. Mexican law displacing 14 million tons, helping to crush farmers' production profits and further raising pricing on corn. They're our biggest export customer for the American corn market. I don't have the futures in front of me right now, but I'd be curious to have that up on my computer screen to watch what the market's doing today, since this was news 2 days ago. Every time the media opens their big mouth, the markets react. That's what the markets do. So we'll keep eyes on that and see if that changes anything in the coming days. Moving on to domestic terrorism activity, intelligence summary. This is going to be, I'm going to cover every one of these really quickly. If you live in one of these areas, you want to contact me directly for more specific data for your location on the terrorist activity from the left-wing groups. We do cover the right-wing extremist groups as well, folks. But a lot of them are laying low. The left is not. The left's got a free ride right now. They don't have to worry about the cops chasing them down, because the cops won't chase them down. This is going to be in Philadelphia. You guys, if you live in these areas, just contact me directly and I'll fill you in and give you a direct brief on this. Sunrise Movement, Sunrise Berks County, extremist far left organization organizing protests to release all female prisoners from the Berks County jail. The location of this is 8th and Cherry Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at 12 o'clock. This occurred yesterday, 21 December 2022. I think all these are going to be yesterdays because we have not received today's left-wing extremist activity date and time location report, but hopefully we'll have that in the coming hours. And if anything pops up that looks like it needs to maybe be given the extra attention it deserves, we'll put it on the Discord server for those that are on the Discord. Domestic terrorism activity and some left-wing again. Colorado Springs, Colorado, Democratic Socialists of America, planned protest, Dalvin Gadsden, veteran, military veteran, CSPD, that's Colorado Springs Police Department, excessive force case. Location, CSPD Operations Center, 705 South Nevada Avenue, Colorado Springs, Colorado, at 1100 hours yesterday, 21 December 2022. If there was any arrest or violent, any kind of a terrorist threat or anything major that popped up out of any of these, we would have had those up on screen and we would say, this is what happened. So give it the attention it deserves. Let me scroll up in here real quick and see if I don't happen to have this kid. And I'm going to be honest with you folks, seeing this kid's face after he was attacked by these officers and looking at these cops, I kind of support this protest and the fact that these cops use excessive force. And I'm not I'm just going to say I'm not a blue line supporter of law enforcement due to the actions of law enforcement and the fact that they continue to act the way they do and hurting people. So let me see if I can find it. I've got a lot of stuff in my computer right here in front of me, so it's kind of a go look and see kind of deal. Let me see if I can pull this up. Could have swore I had it in there, but it's not in there. Dead air, folks. Sorry, I apologize for that. I just need to find this, see if I can bring it up. Pretty sure I still have it. Okay, here we go. I had it hidden from myself. So I'm going to show you guys some pictures here real quick on the screen of this kid and what he looked like when the cops got done with him. I do not know the details of what happened, if he attacked law enforcement, if he did something that was threatening and they had probable cause to beat the living shit out of him, which I don't see that being the case here. The kid's name's Dalvin Gadsden. He's a U.S. military veteran. Doesn't say exactly what branch. I do believe he was U.S. Army. But don't quote me on that. Here's the goopy face of one of the cops getting his picture of his supposed injuries, which he has none. A little bruise, a little cut on his finger. This is one of the goop balls here. Done with him. Here's that goofball cop. Yeah, he looks like a real fucking winner. That's a face a mother could be proud of. Got boo-boo here, his finger. His equipment's all in order. None of his stuff's falling off or messed up, and all of his shit seems to be squared away. Got a little dirt on his pants. This is one officer taking a picture of another officer, for evidence, obviously. Oh, look, I hurt myself, so we're going to get him on assault on a officer. Photo was taken by the Harry Daniels and Latin Law Group. Here's another photo of our superhero cops. This is going to be a different officer. This is going to be C. Rickman. The other idiot's name is M. Anderson. For those in the Colorado Springs area, winners of the day. Again, a little bit of dirt on his pants. Doesn't look like he got, but maybe a little here on his fingers. Quote real quick, they beat him mercilessly, and now he's afraid to go outside, and the VA can't see him to treat his injuries and PTSD until January. Folks, the VA has took a giant shit in the bed just like it did when Obama was in there. And I do not doubt this at all. I'm a victim of that as well. Gadsden noted in a GoFundMe he set up to pay for legal fees that none of the officers on the scene attempted to intervene and stop the excessive brutality he was subjected to. This is common. These cops are too scared to intervene. Other than they're not being a team player, and they don't want to be known as the cop that didn't back up their partner. So they all just either take part or just stand by and ignore what's going on. Meanwhile, this is happening to American citizens everywhere. You guys that are following Rick's channel, good luck, America. You know what I'm talking about. So that looks like all the pictures I have of this, but I wanted to bring that up and show you folks kind of what was going on. I'm disgusted by it, needless to say. It's not okay. So moving on here. Location, yeah, we already covered that. Domestic terrorism, union, leftist activity. So let's cover the unions here real quick. Albertsons Food Corporation planning walkout protest over wages in January 2023 following pushback and delay during talks. Because it sounded like Albertsons wanted to try to get through the Christmas holidays before they give any attention to the wages. And I know some people that work at a local Albertsons where I'm at, they're paid shit. They're absolutely paid shit. And there's no way in hell they're paying their bills right now with everything going up, electric bills included. Aramark employees, UFCW 3000, Kent, Tacoma, Everett, Washington strike planned. Rail strike is still pending. So the railroads are still pending. Aramark, that's been being threatened for a year now at least. Moving on, domestic terrorism activity, intelligence summary. This is going to be left. Defend the Forest Atlanta, or DTASHI, planning Christmas party to raise funding, membership. This group is on the list for suspects involved in recent grid attacks in California, Oregon, Washington, North Carolina, and Texas. Remember what we discussed earlier in this briefing, folks. Defend the Forest Atlanta. 1700 Wednesday, 21 December. That was yesterday. Location, Walani Forest, West Side Place, Atlanta, Georgia. Moving on, domestic terrorism activity and some left. Party for Socialism and Liberation. That's the name of the group, Party for Socialism and Liberation. Anti-U.S. government group, but only patriots can be anti-U.S. government. They're planning a protest at the Peruvian embassy, overthrow of President Pedro Castillo, U.S. supporting backing Bulate government, 20 Park Place, Boston, Massachusetts, 1600 hours, and that was yesterday, the 21st. Moving on to the next one, domestic infrastructure intelligence grid. United States Postal Service being forced to leave Oshkosh defense contract for gas-powered postal vehicles must meet the 66,000 electric vehicle quota by 2028. However, a deadline of 2026 set for 100% compliance has been initiated. U.S. has 3 primary grids, one with respect to supply, but with other agencies being forced combined with the general public mandates of the electric vehicle use and manufacturing, grid failure is guaranteed. Moving on here, Cyberwatch. Looks like we got a new one. Got a new one here on my board. Currently, Texas, specifically Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin are experiencing internet disruptions delivered to be by Chinese and Russian cyber warfare units preceding the Sea of Japan exercises. Standard dry run prior to any naval fleet movements. Seattle, D.C., and the Silicon Valley are being exempted in these cyber attacks. I already covered that. Somebody's trying to call me, and they keep blowing up my phone when I ignore their call and don't answer. And they're one of the folks here. Don't do that. Call me one time. Do not call me several times. You keep calling me, I'll keep ignoring you. After 3 times, which that was 3, then you permanently get blocked out of my phone, and then I never talk to you again. There's 4, and you're getting blocked. So you're now permanently blocked out of my phone. I don't know who it is. If it's an emergency and you need to get a hold of me, it's called text messaging, folks. If it's an emergency, text me and then call and blow up my phone. That way I can see what the hell the situation is, and I can deem it on my end whether it's an emergency or not. That's not an emergency, so don't blow up my phone. Don't do it. Moving on, cyber. I believe I already covered this. Yes, I did. And that looks like the end of that, folks. That wasn't too bad. All right, so we're going to go to our screen real quick. I'm going to cover some things that are on my screen, and I'm going to blow through these as quickly as I can. I know what that one is. All right. Flat radar 24, obviously, they keep telling me that I can't use it for free because we're not paying that bill right now, even though it's like $10 a month. But when you add $10 a month up to like times 30, 40, 50, that adds up to a shit ton of money. So some of these sources that we use online for our network, we're just not going to pay for it right now when we're able to get it backdoor like I'm going to do right now and kind of see what we need to see. Nothing pressing on that front anyway, so let's bring this up on the screen. Make sure my radio's still going here. Denver, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Utah, Nevada, Idaho. That's kind of the box that we're in here, but primarily Denver because that's where we're out of and broadcasting. Looking at this, I don't see anything too exciting as far as aircraft goes. What we're looking for is any spy aircraft flying out of, let's say, Lincoln, Nebraska, flying over here to do surveillance issues. Not a lot going on in Denver this hour of the morning. There is one private aircraft that we will put up here and see what we can see. Dallas to Bozeman, Montana. We like to pay attention to these private aircraft that are not listed because of human trafficking. So we see suspected aircraft carrying a suspected Hollywood type or political type, and they come out of Mexico and fly back to the United States. Either they're down there on vacation or picking up children to bring back to the United States. Don't think for a minute that's not the shit they're pulling, folks, because they are. I'm going to drop this one. We're going to go to I'm going to cover weather out, or actually power outages. So we're just going to cover the power outages first. We're experiencing, looks like we ended ours where I'm at. That was kind of a concern there in the Denver area. Some of you guys in here actually know our actual location. We broadcast Denver, Colorado. We do that for security purposes. Others within this community are aware that we're not actually in the city of Denver. We're outside of it. And an undisclosed location due to security reasons. We don't want to broadcast exactly what city and town that we're in. But we do cover this entire multi-state area in the Midwest and the Rocky Mountain region. So if you see something pop up on the screen that says Bozeman, Montana, or Lincoln, Nebraska, or Minot, North Dakota, that does not mean that that's where we're located. So don't try tracking us and trying to figure out where we're at. You won't figure out where we're at. Anyway, power outages with this storm seem to actually be lessening. It looks like the power companies are really humping and pumping this morning, trying to get the power back on so people are their lives are not in danger. The biggest one on my map looks like central Wyoming. I know the Dakotas and Wyoming, Montana have been hit really bad with this cold. We're talking subtropic temperatures in the negative 40s and 50s, folks. I mean, we're actually technically colder right now than the South Pole. I'll go ahead and throw that out there and mention that. So let's bring this one up here. There's another really cool app that I want to show you guys if you're not on it already. It's called windy.com, and it allows us to kind of track in real time cloud cover, temperatures, weather activity, anything interesting that catches our eye. Here's our big blast. It's already south. Looks like part of the front to this cold blast that we're seeing. The part of the front is, and this is going to be wind, so it's blowing really good to Houston. Let's look at temperatures and see how far south our temp's gone. We are right about Dallas. Looks like just north of Waco there. That's where the temperature should drop down. We got 17 degrees in Lubbock, 8 degrees in Oklahoma City. It's a balmy 46 in Dallas. That's not going to last very long. So the Texas, what are we going to see with the power grid down there? Are we going to have a repeat of 2020? Let's hope not. Or 2021 was it? Negative 22 in Glasgow, Great Falls, negative 28, Billings, negative 26. No weather reports in Wyoming, but I can promise you that it is negative 30s in the higher elevations of Wyoming and Montana. These cities and towns are in the low valleys where it actually gets colder, but these aren't the lowest points. Everything from negative 20 to negative 30 overnight. Looking at this, it looks like more east, negative 6, 11, 6, 13, 10. Looks like the leading edge of this cold Arctic blast that's coming down is actually a little warmer than the backside of it. The backside, we got negative 35, 24 up in Canada, Washington State. We got 21 in Seattle, 8 in Spokane, negative 8. Negative 28 Great Falls, negative 8 Idaho Falls. So we're seeing the negatives, 1 degree in Boise. A little bit less of a storm than it is the front leading edge of it. This storm's coming down here, and it's going to meet Gulf, the warm air in the Gulf, and that's going to create all kinds of problems when it hits and starts mixing up here over the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, and starts heading up the eastern seaboard. So they're going to have, I'm going to guess, I'm going to make an assumption here, but they're going to see a lot more rain than they normally do. Go ahead and record cover here real quick, if it'll let me. So the coldest areas that you saw on the map, not the leading edge of the storm, cloud cover creates like a blanket for the planet's surface. So where there's cloud cover, heavy cloud cover, you're actually insulating. Temperatures are not dropping as low as they are when you got clear skies. There's nothing between you and outer space. Temperatures tend to drop a lot lower than they would with cloud cover because you're not insulating what heat that you do have. So actually what you're seeing with the cold blast, by looking at cloud cover, you can kind of see where the storm is moving, and then watching, of course, the wind activity. It's like we got a little circulation down just east of the panhandle of Texas. And watching the storm, it came down right out of Alaska, Whitehorse, Canada, Alaska, right down, right in this area. They've gotten a lot of snow. And then the backside of this Arctic blast, we're seeing the wind start kick back out to the northern Pacific. It's along the island chains there in Alaska. So we're actually seeing it draw back out over the Pacific instead of coming off the Pacific into the lower 48. So that's kind of interesting. Keep eyes on that. It's windy.com. That's a good source to use for those that are interested in it. Bit defender activity. Obviously, we've seen a huge spike overnight in the last few days as well with the constant attacks in the Texas area. And this fiber optics data server hub, which is pretty much the main grid for all of the internet in the United States, where you see the biggest attack occurring. That's just north of Tulsa on the Kansas side of the state line there, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's underground. It's not above ground. It's not visible. It's out in the middle of a field full of cows. But that is the hub, the main hub for the entire United States, and it's being heavily attacked. It appears that San Francisco is starting to get hit a little bit now, watching this activity. Now, I'm not going to verify any of the data based on the map. I definitely have to go down here and look and kind of dig a little deeper and see what the Silicon Valley is going through right now, see what kind of cyber intrusion activity is occurring there. But they're pretty well protected, DC, Seattle. It doesn't seem like our enemies are too interested in attacking us over here. Looking at the Ukraine map, Monkey covers this every day. Monkey keeps pulling up what appears to be air raid sirens, a constant barrage of air raid attacks and alerts that are going on all the way over to the furthest west side of Ukraine. We're not seeing the same thing he's seeing. So is that live UA map that's creating that kind of that different map for us? Why is our map so much different from his? And looking at his map and also looking at our other guys and their maps, we're all seeing the same thing, so we're not sure where that's coming from. As you see, it looks like there's a little bit of bullshit going on with live UA map. So folks, from now on, due to the fact it's trying to process west for data on this, and it's constantly recycling itself. So it could be on our end, but it looks like it's occurring not on our network. It's occurring inside their app and their server. And we're going to see if it does it again. Looks like it is. This is a service provided out of Ukraine. Actually, live UA map is sourced right out of Ukraine. So they're having a lot of issues. So be careful if you go onto live UA map. Let's just go ahead and put that up as a cyber alert. Be careful if you're going to go visit that site. Be sure that you're not visiting sites that are going to get you hacked or malware, spyware, any other kind of problems with your computer. Make sure you're using your VPNs. Don't take unnecessary risks with your internet, folks. Be serious about your security, especially right now. I don't see anything really else up here on my list that I want to bring up and discuss and cover. I don't need this. Of course, we did a nuke back. This 800 kiloton Topol SS-25 nuclear weapon that's currently in the Russian arsenal. We did a blast over Denver. This is kind of just really a study of, how do I explain this? It's kind of like a matrix that we use to kind of study the areas in which we operate, move around, places that we've suggested people go to if there's a nuclear attack, safe zones, places that'll be relatively safer than others, where fallout's concerned, radioactive material blasts on the surface, create fallout, exposure risks, shelter potential, higher elevations, underground potential for underground shelters, things like that. So we're constantly looking at the new nuke map, and we're just analyzing data as much as we can for the areas in which we operate and we're at. So that's kind of what that was up on my screen for those that were wondering why that was up there. ADSB exchange, not a lot of activity occurring. Showing me in Cheyenne, Wyoming. We actually had that set to Denver. We moved it up to Warren Air Force Base. That's kind of where we're broadcasting. At least that's where our VPN shows that we're at. Again, like, we don't give away our position and where we're at and located, folks, for security reasons. Here's Europe. Europe's busy. It's daytime over there, so of course they're busy. When Monkey comes on, it's nighttime, and it's always busy. Slowly getting busy in the U.S. at about 11:30 Central Time, where he's located, and of course see a lot more activity. Right now we're seeing heavies. Not a lot of refueler or fighter aircraft busy over there right now at the moment. Of course, there's always something going on over DC. Always. Here's our snow band. This is our snow and precipitation band moving across over into Missouri, the Missouri Valley. Got some heavies flying through it. Looks like we got some activity over DC, which we always see. Globally, we see a little bit going on in the Middle East here. I'm not going to break down into specifics. You guys want specifics on all this, definitely go to Skyglass and download that program, and then get with Monkey on the SITREPs Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. This week he's not going to be on Friday. He's going to be traveling vacation for Christmas. And so we wish him well and a safe trip over to where he's going. I hope he has a lot of fun because I know he's worked his ass off and he's earned it, folks. So moving on here out of ADSB, I just want to cover a few headlines and then I'm going to get off of here and we're going to end the SITREP, folks. And then I'm going to go to the gym and get a workout before I take on the day and whoop its ass and move on from there. I may come on for a live later tonight or tomorrow. And then, of course, Christmas, I'm going to do something for the Patreons here for Christmas. And hopefully it's not all, doom and gloom here with the SITREP stuff. I think we might do a night where we just do some study in the Bible. I know that I've actively started going back to church. Really got to listen to an amazing pastor last Sunday. And I'm excited in getting involved with Christianity again, very deeply, and on a better level than I have. And I hope that everyone else out there is getting excited about it too. We are living in exciting times. And when we have doubts, fears, and concerns and stressors in our life, that's where we need to turn to, is our beliefs in our faith. And I think that if we do that, the more and more we do that, and the more we read the Bible and understand it and talk with others who are of like mind and beliefs, I think that we'll pull together and we'll be stronger for it. And no matter what the world throws at us, folks, we're survivors. And we will take this on the best way we can. Let's go ahead and cover these headlines real quick. Of course, this is an unreliable media source, Newsweek. Russia's only aircraft carrier catches fire. I didn't see anything real exciting in that headline, so I didn't continue, other than the fact they continue to have problems with this vessel. Currently, it's stationed in Murmansk, the furthest northwestern part of Russia, way, way up in the north, and where a lot of their sub activity is, or their sub bases are. And the funny thing about this is, this aircraft carrier is supposed to be, the last time they had it on shore dock side, getting repairs and updates and upgrades, it was supposed to be ready to take on the war in Ukraine. And here it is back in the shipyard getting upgrades, and now it's getting repairs because they had another fire. No one was killed in this fire. That much I do know, but they had some pretty extensive damage on board. Looks like that carrier is going to be out of service for a while. Meanwhile, China's building 2 a year, I believe, 1 or 2 a year right now. They're building their fleet in China, and right now they actually are larger than our fleet by vessel count. Marjorie Taylor Greene attacks plans for Ukraine's president to visit Congress, calling Zelensky the shadow president. Ukraine's the 51st state. She's pretty mouthy. I like her, though. She seems to give a shit about her country. I think maybe sometimes she kind of oversteps, but she's not overstepping here. Who is Zelensky? Former actor and somebody that was easily bought, paid for by our agencies and put in as the president of Ukraine. She's not wrong, folks. Okay, GOP congressman who questioned 2020 election results. GOP meaning Republican, illegally voted in 3 elections. When you dig into the story, folks, and you actually do your research, and you're not the media, and you don't make assumptions based on your political feelings and your little butthurt snowflakeness, you actually do your investigation and you study this. He's not being criminally charged for anything wrong, because the man moved 63 miles away into another county in another district, and he's actually in the process of moving, and he did vote. And he legally could still vote. So here the headline, raw story, go figure. Illegally voted in 3 elections. Well, it turns out, no, he didn't illegally vote in 3 elections, folks. He moved to a different county, to a new house they bought. Don't bullshit. If you're going to read a story like that and you're going to try to chase it down the rabbit hole, just remember, you're going to find out a lot of things, and most of the time you're going to find out the media is full of shit, but you might find out other things as well. Reduce the risk to national security, abandon force design 2030. For those that want to read about this and actually get the actual truth on this, go to sofrep.com. SOFREP is the military source that we use. They're not biased. They are more right-leaning than they are left. There's a lot of veterans news media out there that have websites and news media that they are very left-wing, even though they're U.S. military. They're kind of going along with the woke bullshit. I don't take anything from the Hill with much grain of salt because it's not worth the shit, and I'm just not going to be sucked into the wokeness, so to speak. So if you want to go read that article, go ahead. I'm not going to go too into it about the Force Design 2023. Basically, Milley and our Joint Chiefs are doing everything wrong and everything backwards, and they're doing what idiot right here is telling them to do. Russian president, this is money-wise, Russian President Vladimir Putin joins President Biden in sounding the alarm on the risk of nuclear war. Here's what Warren Buffett says about the greatest danger facing the world. I don't give two shits about what it does. The guy's a crook. He always has been. He's run our country into the ground a few times for the benefit of his wallet. So I'm not gonna read that. I'm just not even gonna pay attention to it. But it is true. Jim Jordan urged far-right colleague to stand for Zelensky. He refused. Good. I would refuse too. I don't have anything personally wrong with Zelensky. What I have is a problem with our government sending all of our money and our military assets that we need to be able to functionally and effectively fight a war here at home if it happens, or wherever an attack occurs and they try to attempt to invade us. We need to be able to defend ourselves. And at this point right now, we can't do that because this fucking potato is sending all of our shit over there and our money. And this guy refuses to be a part of it or support abusing taxpayer dollars. So, you need to get your priorities straight there, bud. Him and all these other guys standing for, like McConnell, standing up for Ukraine is one thing. Standing up for the Ukrainian leader while he's over here trying to bullshit us and wants our money and our military equipment, that's another thing. This is a scam and always has been, folks. This is the article from the Mediaite, whatever news source that is. It's bullshit, I'm sure. But anyway, the FBI released a statement on Wednesday responding to Elon Musk's Twitter files, blasting the journalists publishing the revelations as conspiracy theorists. Now, remember, folks, JFK's assassination, that's where conspiracy theory, that term, first began to be used by major media in the United States. And the CIA started using it at the same time, using it a lot. And, you can make the connection. Some of us here weren't alive in the 50s and 60s. And, of course, during the Kennedy assassination. And if I was that, I will authorizes as the Commander-in-Chief of the United States military, the commissioning of the U.S. Naval Special Warfare, NAVSPEC WARCOM, aka the U.S. Navy SEAL teams, and the wearing of the Green Beret by the U.S. Army Special Forces, all while planning to disband the entire CIA due to corruption beyond executive control. Today, the FBI. JFK dies, assassinated. Lee Harvey Oswald arrested. Jack Ruby assassinates Oswald. Jack Ruby gets arrested. Okay, it's still taxi theory. If you want to know who killed the president of the United States, it was his own CIA that killed him. LBJ was all very much a part of that. It wasn't the Italian mafia. It wasn't the Cubans. It wasn't some fucking guy that visited Cuba 3 times or went to Mexico. It was the fucking CIA. That's who killed the American president. If you believe anything else, provide the intelligence and provide the evidence. Today, the CIA. Yesterday, the CIA. Today, the FBI. Most powerful agency in the world. The director of the FBI and the attorney general are the 2 most powerful men in the world, not the president of the United States. That's just fact. Anyway, the FBI is trying to cover their ass and admitting to not admitting, to not trying to admit, and all they're doing is just making that picture more clear and clear every day. I like it when the FBI does release a statement, come out and say something like that, because in the end, they're telling us truths by telling us lies. And if you know how to read between the lines, folks, there it is. Sean Hannity, I'm putting you out on blast, and I think everyone should put you out on blast, Mister. I'm pro law enforcement, and they need more training, and they need more money. And no, they don't. They get plenty of training, and they have plenty of money. You're just a kiss ass to the FBI because you have a family member involved in it. You suck the dick of the CIA, and you are just entertainment. At this point, Sean, and I listen to your radio program every day, and I'm just sick of hearing the broken record. That's what you are. You're a broken record. You say the same shit every day, your same talking points, same show, same repeated comment, night after night, Monday through Friday. You are nothing but an entertainment piece and a mouthpiece for this White House. And I have no respect for you at this point. You've lost it. You are part of everything that's wrong with this country. You are the problem, as I said in the beginning of the SITREP. Good riddance, Sean Hannity. I'll stick to my Dan Bongino. He's not washed up in the bullshit yet. And he was a cop, by the way. You were never a cop. Yet you claim you've done everything under the sun as far as a job. You are a roofer, a carpenter. You're like Biden. You've done it all. There's not much you haven't done. You're just another fucking millionaire with a mouth for radio and TV, and you got a spot. Now you make shit tons of money and continues pushing the bullshit, man. I did not believe it for 1 second. Hannity testifies under oath he didn't buy Trump election fraud claim. Let that sink in. That's where Sean's been the last few days, why he hasn't been doing his radio show. So that's it, folks. That's the end of it. One quick look at ADSB real quick. Looks like it's getting even more busy over here on the East Coast. All these just popped up. Looks like the trainers in Texas and Alabama, Mississippi are getting fired up this morning, starting their daily routine, training our pilots. So other than that, I don't have anything else. Looks like, let me look and see if I got a time on here real quick. It's an hour and 42 minute SITREP, so that's about average for these, an hour and a half, 2 hours. So that's it, folks. I'm going to leave you with that. The only other thing that I'm going to bring up real quick before I hang up with you guys and get off of here and go to the gym and do my daily is be prepared for cold weather. Brush up on your survival skills. I know you might live in a house and have electricity and a nice warm heater and maybe a fireplace with some firewood. But remember, before these storms come, guys, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Be prepared before you're in the middle of the storm and then something does happen. It's a lot easier to work on the warm days leading up to a bad weather situation and getting prepared and getting supplies that you need, hitting the road, going and traveling when you need to. Than doing it in the middle of the storm where everybody's in the middle of a crisis situation and they're trying to run around and get supplies or get firewood or food and groceries. And now you're trying to beat the rush. Plan ahead. Part of every battle that's ever fought by any military, part of every operation that's ever planned, part of every mission that's done by law enforcement or government agencies or FEMA or all these groups during the peacetime, during the safe time, during the good weather windows, everybody is busy working like a hornet's nest, trying to get the shelter built, the supplies they need, just like every insect and every animal on this planet. They spend the entire spring, summer, and fall packing away nuts in their little nest, putting away food, pounding away the calories, getting themselves prepared for the time when those options are not available. This storm should be an opportunity to train your mind and your physical existence, your presence. This should be a perfect time to use this as a training exercise, making sure that you have the right equipment, making sure that your radio batteries are charged on your ham radios, making sure that your 2-day or your 4 or 6-day packs are all lined up with the gear you need. Make sure your food is within dates for food that you packed in your bags. Make sure that your candles aren't melted sitting in the heat in the summer in your go bag in the back trunk. If they did melt, get new ones. Make sure you have candles and things like that. And those of you that have questions, that's what the Patreon is for. Contact me through Patreon. Let me know that you need to speak to me direct one-on-one. We'll set up a time and we'll make that happen. And you guys can ask me 100,000 questions. For the locals here in this region that want to take classes, by all means, tell me what class you want. Give me a time and date. I'll see if I can work that out, and we will put something together. We'll do radio communications. We'll do first aid and medical trauma training. We'll do movement exercises. We'll do a go bag class one day. We'll do weapons defense one day. We'll do building a fire, or how to create a 55-gallon drum burning barrel in your home where you can vent and, build basically a chimney sweep for exhausting that smoke and everything, so it's a safe form of eat. How to pack away food, how to bury things in the ground where they don't get ruined, where you can have that stash if you need it someday. How to navigate, how to read maps, how to read and predict weather patterns, how to prepare for extreme cold or extreme heat days, how to properly hydrate. In the wintertime when it's cold like this, our bodies don't tell us we need to take on more fluid like it does in the summer. Summertime, when it's hot outside, your body's screaming for hydration, hydration, hydration. It's just as important and critical in the wintertime that you keep hydrated, keep your body flush with fluid. All these different things, how to sterilize or purify water, make it safe drinking water, what tools you can buy or use, which ones are good to have, which ones don't waste your money on. Firearms classes and training, tactical training, self-defense and combatives training. If I'm not in your area, I can find out who is close to you in your region or your state or your city or your town. I can find out who to go to, who's the most reputable person in your area to contact to go do your training with, somebody to learn from. Let me know. Just reach out and contact me, guys. There's messaging options all over these. Even in StreamYard, you can leave comments and there's messaging options. So this is a live broadcast, but no one got links to it. So this will be like a pre-recorded broadcast. So I hope the information today helped cover a lot of the concerns and interests that you guys might have, and it's got you up to date on what activities occurring and keeping you informed. And we're going to try to do this a lot more often. Still working out the format, a few other things, and hopefully I'll have some of my guys on here soon. I know I've got a couple in Nevada, one in Arizona, and a few on the East Coast. That's another thing I need to bring up real quick. I've got a source down in the Arizona area working in a hospital doing security work, and they're so desperate, short-staffed, and so desperate for people to work, guys, that down there where he's at, as a security professional in the hospital, he's helping doctors intubate patients. Now, those of you that are familiar with intubation, it's putting a tube down somebody's throat. That's not something a security guy should be doing. The reason why they're understaffed is obvious reasons, vax bullshit, but as well as other purposes. People just don't want to work in that field anymore. 1 minute we're calling nurses our heroes, and the next minute we're firing them all because they didn't go get some government experiment shot up their arm. I was also informed that the fentanyl's coming over in the form down there right now at present, looking like Skittles, packaged like Skittles. Skittles is a candy kids like to eat. They're turning the fentanyl dope and these pills into candy. And I don't know what to say about it, folks. Eyes on target, eyes on your children, ears to the ground, your mind in the right place. Your kids shouldn't be going out and hanging out with their friends on Saturday. They should be going to church on Sunday. Time for games and play and growing up and all that, having fun, are coming to an end. Our kids need to buckle down and pay attention. They're going to have to start becoming adults a lot sooner than they are now. That's a sad thing and a reality for our children, but that's the world we live in, folks. All right, so that's going to be your 22 December 2022 SITREP this morning. I'll send out links at some point today. I don't know if I'll actually have time. Yeah, I think I have time to send this link out. So let me wrap this up. no editing done, so I'll get these links out shortly. And everybody have a great rest of your week and an awesome Christmas. For those of you that are distant from your families, be the better person and make contact. Reach out to them. Even if it turns into an argument, you can always just hang up on them. But even those members of our families that have gone woke and gone left-wing, libtard, complete wacko, be the better person. Show them that no matter what their beliefs are or their twisted mental state is, we still love and care for them. Because as I learned in church last Sunday, God loves everyone. God even loves Joe Biden. God doesn't approve or like what Joe Biden's doing, obviously. He still loves him. He loves all his children. He wants us to love each other too, even our enemies. But as somebody else once said, you can give your heart and your mind to God, but your ass belongs to me. Don't die for your country. Make the other bastard die for his. May God protect us if war comes to our doorsteps. May God watch over and protect us. And have love and faith in us that we love him while we kill the other guys. We kill the little bastards. Send them to heaven so they can learn love too. I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Have a good Christmas. Let this 2023, no matter how hard and tough and south it goes, let's make the best of what we can with what we got. And again, use this storm and this moment in time with this bad weather. Use this as an opportunity to prepare for the next one and the one after that. Make sure you got all your gear, all your food, all your stores, source of heat, everything that you need to survive and stay alive. Survival is not a comfortable place to be. It sucks. But you have a choice. You can survive, or you can be a victim. All right, everybody. I'm out. Be safe out there. God bless.